Hi everyone, welcome back to part 4 of The Brakeman's Daughter, one of the stories by Damon Runyon from his book On Broadway. If you remember, we found out that this is one big wind-up, but we're going to see if the hummingbird actually falls for the wind-up. Well, now the way I tell it, you say to yourself, how can anybody be sucker enough to fall for such a plan as this? But Big False Face's record with the Brakeman's Daughter's joke in Newark, New Jersey includes a congressman, a justice of the peace, 3 G guys, 18 newspaper scribes, 5 prize fighters, and a raft of guys from different parts of the country, who are such guys as the ordinary citizen will hesitate about making merry with. In fact, I hear Big False Face is putting the feels on Cheeks Cherokee with reference to the Brakeman's Daughter, until he finds out Cheeks knows this joke as well as he does himself. And then Big False Face discovers the hummingbird, and no one is talking stronger for the Brakeman's Daughter with the hummingbird than Cheeks. Well, anyway, along about 9 o'clock on the night in question, Big False Face tells the hummingbird that the Brakeman's Daughter is now at home alone, and the brakeman is well out on his run on the Central. So they get in Big False Face's car and start out. And I noticed that as they get in the car, Big False Face gives the hummingbird a quick fanning, as Big False Face does not care to take chances on a sucker having that certain business on him. Now the hummingbird is all as sharpened up for the occasion, and furthermore he is quite excited, and one and all are telling him what a lucky guy he is to get a call out the Brakeman's Daughter. But anyone can see from the way the hummingbird acts that he feels he is really the Brakeman's Daughter who is having the luck. It seems that Cheeks Cherokee and a couple of these guys from Philadelphia go out of the house in advance to heave the incandescent bulbs and do the yelling. And personally, I sit up playing Pinochle with A.B. Schutzenheimer, waiting to hear what comes off. Although A.B. says it is all a great foolishness and by no means worthy of grown guys. But A.B. admits he will be glad to see the Brakeman's Daughter himself, as she is as beautiful as Big False Face claims. Well, when they come within a couple of blocks of the empty house in the suburbs of Newark, New Jersey, Big False Face tells his driver, a guy by the name of Ears Acosta, who afterwards informs me under several points of this transaction, to pull up and wait there. And then Big False Face and the hummingbird get out of the car, and Big False Face leads the way up the street and into the yard. This yard is filled with big trees and shrubbery, but the moon is shining somewhat, and it is easy enough to make out objects around and about. But there are no lights in the house, and it is so quiet you can hear your watch tick in your pocket if you happen to have a watch. Well, Big False Face has the hummingbird by the coat sleeves, and he tiptoes through the gate and up a pathway. The hummingbird tiptoes right with him. And every now and then Big False Face stops and listens. And the way Big False Face puts this on is really wonderful because he does it so often. He can get a little soul into his work. Now, the hummingbird has plenty of moxie from all I hear. But naturally, seeing the way Big False Face is acting makes him feel a little nervous because the hummingbird knows that Big False Face is a game as they come, and he figures that any situation that makes Big False Face act as careful at all, it must be a very dangerous situation indeed. Well, when they finally get up close to the house, the hummingbird sees that there's a porch, and Big False Face tiptoes up onto this porch, still leading the hummingbird by the coat sleeve. And then Big False Face knocks softly on the door and lets out a little low whistle. And just as the hummingbird is commencing to notice that this place seems to be somewhat deserted, all of a sudden a guy comes busting out the corner of the house. This guy's making a terrible racket, with a yelling and a swearing and a coming and other things. He yells as follows. The guy yells, "Now I have your title rights." And with this, something goes pop, and then suddenly something goes pop, pop. And Big False Face says to the hummingbird like this. "My goodness," Big False Face says, "it's the brakeman. Run," he says, "run for your life." Then Big False Face turns and runs, and the hummingbird is about to turn and run with him because the hummingbird figures it's like Big False Face can afford to run. There can be no percentage in standing still himself. But before he can move, the door of the house flies open, and the hummingbird feels himself being yanked inside the joint, and he puts up his dukes and gets ready to do the best he can until he's overpowered. Then he hears a doll's voice going like this. Shh, shh. The doll's voice goes, shh, shh. So the hummingbird shushes, and the racket goes on outside a while the guy is still yelling and much popping away. Then the noise dies out, and all is still. And by the moonlight that is coming through the window on which there is no curtain, the hummingbird can see a lot of furniture scattered around and about the room. But some of it is upside down, and none of it is arranged in any order. Furthermore, the hummingbird can now also see that the doll who pulls him into the house and gives him the shh, shh, shh is nobody but the black-haired doll he hauls out of the way of the beer truck in the afternoon. And naturally, the hummingbird is somewhat surprised to see her at this time. Well, the black-haired doll smiles at the hummingbird, and finally he forgets his nervousness to some extent, and in fact drops his dukes while he still has up ready to sell his life dearly. And by the black-haired doll says to him like this. I recognize you through the window in the moonlight, she says. As I see you coming up the porch, I also see some parties lurking in the shrubbery, and I have a feeling that they are seeking to do you harm, so I pull you inside the house. I'm glad you are to see you again, she says. Well, Big False Face does not show up in his accustomed haunts to laugh at the joke on the hummingbird, but Ears Acosta returns with the disquieting news, such as causes many citizens to go looking for Big False Face. And they find him face downward on the path just inside the gateway. And when they turn him over, the old castor oil smile is still on his kisser, and even larger than ever, as if Big False Face is greatly amused by some thought that hits him all of a sudden. And Big False Face is extremely dead when they find him, as it seems that some of the incandescent bulbs that go popping around him are really sawed-off shotguns. And it also seems that the Cheeks Cherokee and his guys from Philadelphia are such careless shots that they tear off half the gate with their slugs. And so it is pretty lucky for the hummingbird that he's not running with Big False Face for this gate at the moment, or in fact anywhere near him. And back in the house, while they are lugging Big False Face away, the hummingbird and the black-haired doll are sitting on an overturned sofa in the parlor with the moonlight streaming through the window on which there is no curtain and spilling all over them, and the hummingbird is telling her how much he loves her and how he hopes and trusts she feels the same towards him. For they are young, and it is spring in Newark, New Jersey. Well, the hummingbird says, so you are the brakeman's daughter, are you? Well, I wish to state that they do not overboost you a nickel's worth. And when they tell you are the most beautiful doll in the world, and I'm certainly tickled to find you. But how do you learn my new address so soon? The black-haired doll says. We just moved in here this morning, although, she says, I guess it is a good thing that for you we do not have time to put up any window shades. And what do you mean? The black-haired doll says. By calling me the brakeman's daughter. My papa is one of the oldest and best-known conductors anywhere in the Erie, she says. There you go. All turns out well for the hummingbird. But obviously, that face is taken out by another family. He thinks he's getting too big for his boots. Well, there you go. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now. Bye.